Hi, I'm Tim, and welcome to Watch You Want. Thanks for logging on. Now, in the world of Italian luxury watches, there's one name that stands above all others. Unfortunately, Officine Panerai moved to Switzerland in 1997. The true Italian craftsmen of Florence, the ones who actually forged those first military Panerai cases, the ones who actually built the Luminor, the Mare Nostrum, the Luminor Marina that inspired Sly Stallone when he discovered the brand in 1995, the watches that brought the company from obscurity into the red-hot spotlight were built by the men who built this, Anonimo Militare, model 2004. The watch you see here represents the product of the exodus of talent that left Panerai when it was carted away by the Richemont Group upon purchase in 1997. Now, everything Panerai went to Neuchâtel, Switzerland. Only the business office stayed. The engineers, the masterminds of the Panerai military models, the craftsmen who built them, those who finished the watches, the designers, they stayed and they founded Anonimo in 1997. Now, the bottom line is this Anonimo Militare Model 2004 is as close as you can get to a continuation of the so-called pre-Vendôme Panerai models. And in a lot of ways, you can see the family resemblance, but unlike Panerai, which more or less froze its basic look, Anonimo remained characteristically Italian. No conservatism here. They continued to experiment, they continued to be flamboyant and push the limits. And you can see from this expressive orange dial paired with this unique crown guard device, and of course the traditional signature Panerai Luminor case, that the mix of flamboyant innovation and tradition was alive and well at Anonimo. Let me put it on the wrist, talk a little bit more about this watch. Now, the essential case size, shape, and profile should be familiar to those who are familiar with Panerai. Now, on my wrist, which is 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference, you can see that the stainless steel 43.4 millimeter case wears quite comfortably. It sits flat, it distributes its weight well. If you're familiar with the feel of a 44 millimeter traditional Betterini case, Panerai Luminor, believe me, you'll be quite at home with the Anonimo Militare. Now, the nice thing about the watch is Anonimo has a character that's completely its own. It's not trying to look like a Panerai, it's not trying to ape its predecessor. It is continuing the craft tradition without necessarily proving slavish to the aesthetic tradition. The comfort and ergonomics are there, but there are some new wrinkles. For one thing, there's a dial that's completely unique. Black oxidized hands with small seconds at 12 o'clock. You can see that it's set on a dial that's kind of a cross between what you might have expected on an old-time Panerai and also the 1967 Doxa sub. There's a little bit of that going on too, that day-glow diver that's more legible than legible, that just jumps out at you. The contrast between the hands and the dial is the highlight here, the functional highlight, because with a good sense of bearing relative to the hours, you'll always know exactly what time it is because of the contrast between that orange dial base and those black oxidized hands. And with abundant lume, this one really glows like a torch at night. I also want to talk a little bit about the strap itself. Now, this is what Anonimo calls its original Kodiak strap. The Opera Mechanica Kodiak strap, as they called it, is a unique combination of very, very supple calfskin leather. In fact, this is almost buttery smooth. Think a well-worn catcher's mitt made of lambskin, and you kind of get the idea. But what's unique about this is that it also comes with a measure of water resistance. Unlike Panerai, which generally asks you to choose between some sort of rubber strap and leather, depending on whether you're going to be beneath the waves or high and dry, Anonimo builds this strap with a measure of water resistance, and as originally constructed, the strap was in fact water resistant. Now this one, in outstanding condition, retains a great measure of that protection and protective coating. So you get a lot of the best of both worlds with this. You get the souplesse of leather, that gorgeous stitching, the grain of a natural product, but you also get a measure of water resistance in a watch that's clearly designed to get wet. And with a view towards durability, there's a unique crown guard right here at 6 o'clock. This is all Anonimo. This is Anonimo being innovative. Like I said, they knew that they were expected to innovate in this regard because the crown guard had been so key to the success of the Luminor. But while others launched outlandish crown guards attempting to emulate Panerai but get around its patents, Anonimo came up with a completely original idea. Like the early Panerai Luminor Marina models, this Anonimo Militare Model 2004 employs a Unitas 6497 pocket watch caliber. It has a big, slow, lazy beat. It's rugged as all get out. It's tough. It has a power reserve of approximately 50 hours. And it is a manual winder, which is nice because it also keeps the watch nice and thin. But with this unique crown guard device, you have the ability to access the crown, to set the time, to wind the watch, and like the Panerai Luminor, when it's closed, it effectively locks the crown in place, providing security and a hermetic seal so you don't have to endlessly thread the crown in and out as you would on a screw down, as you find on Breitling, Rolex, and Omega dive watches. That saves the crown seal, and it saves inconvenience and frustration when your watch and your hands are actually wet or sweaty or you're wearing gloves. It's a thoughtful innovation, and it's an interesting wrinkle on Panerai's system. More than a wrinkle, it's distinctive and iconic in its own right, because Anonimo has quite a few collectors who recognize the watch for what it is. A unique continuation of the age-old Florentine sports watch manufacturing tradition. And it is something of a dead art these days, because as of 2011, the old Anonimo company, run by the exodus of talent from Panerai, actually went insolvent, and although it has been recovered and it has been restarted, most of the watches are now made in Switzerland, with only the cases being crafted in Florence proper. So the original Anonimo watches, produced from 1997 to 2011, like this Anonimo Militare Model 2004, represent an important and bygone chapter in the history of luxury watchmaking, and one of the last significant chapters in the history of the Panerai legacy that dates from 1860 until, sadly, 2011. The continuation of the original Panerai military sports watch tradition, Anonimo represents an outstanding value and a fantastic timepiece for an open-minded luxury watch collector looking for something exclusive, different, with a fantastic backstory. Water-resistant to 12 ATM, it's as tough and versatile as it looks. See it on our website, Watch You Want, in outstanding condition. If everything I've mentioned appeals to you, if you want a watch that's different, distinctive, and has a wonderful backstory and heritage, this Anonimo Militare Model 2004 just might be the watch you want.